Okay, you're probably getting familiar with this portion of the Zodiac very much so after you've been watching most of my videos that are about this series, and I ask you to go back and look through this series. I talk about how the Sumerian words are conflagrations of other words and their secondary and third meanings and so on like that, and by taking those meanings, you can take a Zodiac and make different stories out of it. It's incredible. But up here in your top right hand corner is that Noah's Ark landing near Gemini, which is looked at as being the sacred mountains, which also shows you a connection back to like Göbekli Tepe area and everything, because that's the Caucasus Mountains. But this Pegasus square is also used for quite a few things. It's a square of Pegasus, but also it's looked at as being a temple. It's looked at as being the house of God. All kinds of things. See, there's Yahweh, Enki, Gaia, Aquarius right down there below it. And that's in his abode that they talk about in the Sumerians, and they continue to talk about in the Bible. So don't want to leave anybody or everybody out necessarily. So looking at it though, that's the Ark, and I've shown you another video talking about Noah's Ark and how it works and how a conflagration of words right here of this square and the names of this square, such as Mul, which means stars, and Iku, which is the square, and this is a star square or a field of stars where there's a square and it's empty in the middle of it. And then Mul Te, or the small form of it is P or Bat. And if you take the secondary word of that, that's Tebat, and Tebat is the word for the ark in the Bible. It's kind of telling. So you wonder if the Quran's got anything about stuff like this, and the Quran is of course based on the exact same thing, and you'd think that they don't have astrotheology in theirs, but it quite often shows that they have even more. It actually says in the Quran that the floodwaters come out of an oven. Now, this is a conflagration of words here again, and how this shows up. So this is another showing that this is happening like crazy, and people are just willing to accept it because it's written in the stars pretty much. I mean, if it said an oven, it says an oven. What makes any sense? It says an oven. Well, some people have flood stories that actually where a pitcher of water got broken, and then it never quit flooding. I mean, there's some silly things in there if you look at flood stories of the world, but this concept right here, it shows you that. And it says, so he, Noah, built an ark, and whenever Allah, as they see it, will was done, and the water welled out from the oven, which is tannur, which is actually a little hearth oven. He said to Noah, take into the ark a pair from every species of your tribe and the true believers. So there's more people that go into it than whenever they do in the actual Bible part. But if we look here, and this is something that's been exposed by John Mchugh. He's the guy that's gone extremely deep into this, and he's finding more and more, and just simplistic little statements that seem odd in the Bible. And he's like, here it is in the stars again because of the Sumerian thing, and he studied Sumerian and their secondary words, and he's got it all figured out now pretty much, and it keeps showing up over and over again. But Iku can mean box and chest, and so from that we developed the ark idea, but also we developed the box and the chest from the Greek tale of the same thing, where they end up putting them into a box and going through a flood and situation. Yeah. For right over to the right of everything that we've just been talking about is a little constellation here, and it's the Ark constellation. But if you take the word Sid, which is also another word that can be used for a box or chest, okay? But then you take the secondary word of box and chest, and Sid Gear means oven. And so now all of a sudden we get these floodwaters running out of this oven like it runs out of Enki, and the two forms are from Pisces and so on there, and it's coming erupting out of something that they're going to now change from a box or a Pegasus square or a field are the face of God, which I'll show you here in another video here just a minute, in the place of God, God's house and so on, and how that's utilized. And maybe you'll be able to see in that whenever I show it where it comes from, and you'll realize that a lot of people had this going on. But here's a concept of them having this idea of a flood, but it comes out of an oven. You see, sometimes it's easier to tell things like this, and that it is astrotheological, because if you look in the Quran, they actually have chapters, such as Al-Najim, which means the star in their language, instead of Aster, are the things that we would know it as, and you can twist it around by using that. Or Al-Qamar, which is about the moon. Or Ar-Buruj, which is actually about the zodiac itself. Or perhaps Al-Shams, which is about the sun, and that has to do with Shamash. And sun worship, and conflagrations of things that are just like Ra, and just like Jesus, and Sol Invictus, and other people that are like sun gods and stuff. So they all had this type of thing going on with this story. And again, it's all written in the stars right here. Because as I've shown you before, see that man that's Orion? That's actually Jesus walking on water. It's also about 10 other people and 10 other different stories that have to do with a boat, like down there in the bottom left, like the Argo, which is a transposition of the Akkadian word for the Sumerian word Argu, which actually comes across as flood boat and has to do with the ark. It's a crazy conflagration here, because we're looking at the same place, and you can pretty much put your hand out and flatten your hand out in front of yourself at night and cover up this entire place. Just about. And so something that small in part of the zodiac has got so many stories attached to it. Well, it's a pretty important point. And see, there's God over there on the right-hand side, and of course Neptune and so on, and these people, and so all of the people that are connected with this concept and this idea, and the rivers and everything else have a lot to do with this. And as I've said, it actually shows traits that it came back from river gods and things from before, and stories from before, twisted all around. It's an amazing book, the Bible, and once you figure out how much it's twisted all through and together, you can just see how amazing the people are that wrote it. And I still again question if any of you believe that some hapless goat farmers had this idea in the first place. They would have been illiterate. This is not an illiterate display here. This is somebody who knows all about astronomy, all kinds of psychology, things like that, tales from different people, pagans, so on, and something that really happened, and then something that really happened now, and they're able to twist it all together, and that's just one little part, and they've got thousands of puzzle pieces in that Bible. It's amazing. But this kind of shows you where a lot of this all comes from. We'll get on to another piece here. Peace.